welcome everyone, all the VIC and IC attendees out there. We are going to be doing a discussion on women in Star Trek pioneers, challenges, and legacy. I am Admiral Tricia Tunis, USS Corsair out of Region 3, and
And I am now Fleet Captain Chris Poole from the USS Lone Star, also in Region 3. And you may know me from the go-kart races last night as DJ Chicken Sandwich.
I heard all about that go-kart race. That was controlled chaos.
Wild. Yeah, I don't know if it was controlled, but it was definitely chaos. And it was a really good time.
It does sound like it was. And people will be talking about that for quite a while.
I hope so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was great. Well, what we're going to go over with a little bit today is that we're going to go over contributions of women in production roles, challenges and triumphs by some of the women in industry, legacy and influence of these women, especially in Star Trek fandom, some promotion of maybe some things you maybe didn't know about, and how they can inspire future generations. Does that sound good to you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're just going to have a fun conversation about different influential women in Star Trek, but mainly focused on directors and producers and writers and the people that you don't see that are behind the scenes. And a lot of them have really made some significant contributions to the field of entertainment in general, not just actors or actresses, but they've really broken down some barriers in a time when women just haven't been accepted in the industry.
That's right. That's exactly it. Even now, it's an uphill fight for women to get involved in behind the scenes, and just creating the product, creating movies and films and anything that they can dream of. So we definitely want to explore who has done it and why they did it too, and how they did it. I know for the first person that kind of caught my attention, everybody kind of knows her name, is Dorothy D.C. Fontana. Dorothy is actually a Jersey girl. Yep, she's from New Jersey. She attended Fairleigh Dickinson University and graduated with a degree in executive secretarial skills. Yes, say that 3 times fast. If you can imagine, this would be the late 50s, early 60s. Jobs for women were very limited. Nursing, teaching, secretaries. I mean, there were tons of secretarial schools. Even my mom graduated from a secretarial school. It's like they were clerks or waitresses. Very, very limited opportunity. And you have Dorothy Fontana coming out into the world. She got a job in a typing pool for a movie studio in New York. So that's how she got her foot in the door. She wanted to be a novelist, but she's like, hey, you know what? I need a day job, as we all do if we're doing writing. Because believe it or not, they don't all offer us 6-figure deals right out the door, first time author. But she's like, you know what? I can do this during the day, and then at night I can do my novel. Well, she started getting more and more involved with the scripts and stuff when she was typing them, and looked at them and go, I can do this myself. I don't know why I shouldn't. So that piqued her interest. Well, one of the scripts that she was typing up was actually, and tell me if this movie sounds familiar, Psycho.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely know that one.
Hitchcock. So coincidentally enough, she had to get these scripts to Hitchcock, and she actually had some conversations with him about story development, character development. She started diving into that field and kind of shifted from writing books to maybe I want to do television series and movies. Unfortunately, she then got promoted up in that organization to being an assistant for a movie producer. And unfortunately, he passed away. He had a heart attack and he passed away, so left her unemployed. Now, this is when she really shows how much grit she has. She went home, went to her mother, said, you know what? Job opportunities are pretty lean in this industry in New York City. I'm going to take 2 weeks vacation, go out to California, go out to LA. If I can't get a job there, I'll come back and get another secretary job. That's what she did. She packed everything up, went out west, and she never really left. She found a job within a week, and she started. Basically, if you remember during that time period, there were a lot of westerns. Were very, very popular, and she kind of got situated in that niche, doing secretarial assistant positions for different western shows, and eventually there was an opening with this guy, Gene Roddenberry. I don't know, another name might be familiar. And so she got to be his assistant as a secretary. Well, Gene saw how motivated he was and started just kind of picking her brain and figuring things and getting her assistance. And he eventually helped write the script. Now, you may ask yourself, kind of, why is she DC and not Dorothy? Another sign of the time. She realized when she was pitching some scripts to other movie studios and other television series, they wouldn't take her seriously because she was a woman. A woman writing westerns? Oh, no, no, can't have that. Women are could be doing romantic comedies or, soap operas or, girly stuff, as they say. But the minute she started just using initials, the script started being picked up, and she was getting more and more work. So, and that kind of segues into Star Trek that she got hired because of her background of being able to write good stories, good characterizations, and everything else. Um, Her biggest, probably, I wouldn't say just one of her biggest contributions, at least in my mind, is for the Vulcan culture. Leonard Nimoy said a lot of the backstory of Spock, especially being half human and half Vulcan and having that conflict, was driven by DC Fontana. So we have her to thank for the character of Spock that we even still enjoy on Strange New Worlds. So her influence is definitely, even to this day, being felt in the character of Spock, especially. Um, we also did like some key episodes. I know one of my favorite episodes is the Enterprise incident. I mean, that was just an awesome episode. We had the introduction of the Romulans. I mean, yeah, that's always my favorite. Uh, Her big thing was always get that backstory, develop the character, get the character to conflict, just that type of thing. Another big thing too for her was also don't do the damsel in distress. The old, even in the westerns that she did scripts for, one in particular actually had it that the female main character had to be a survivor. She had to figure out stuff herself without getting a big heroic man to help her out. So she had to figure out things. So, and which is kind of unusual because normally the woman always needed the big burly man's help to come in and rescue her. And DC Fontana didn't see that. Women can get themselves out of their own messes. Thank you very much. So that's kind of just a few things about DC Fontana. I mean, she did go on to work on the $6 Million between, till she started Next Gen, and I mean, she was just an incredible woman. Her husband kind of summed her up pretty well, which was that she was a very tough lady. She carried a phaser with her all the way to the end. And you can see she had to because she had to make her own opportunities. They weren't there. So she just worked the system.
Yeah. I mean, she sounds like an incredible woman.
Oh, yeah, she was. I mean, just reading some of her stories, listening to her in interviews was just, I mean, I didn't know that much before I started researching her. I knew she was an author. I know she has some books out there. If you want to get some good points for the Starfleet Medical Reading Challenge, pick up some DC Fontana books. Highly recommend. She really fought tooth and nail for any opportunity that she could get. And you have to kind of respect that.
Oh yeah, I totally respect that. And I'm in the same boat as you in terms of not knowing much about some of these people. When I was asked to do this panel, I started doing research on different women that were involved in Star Trek. And so if I butcher any names, I'm going to apologize now. But for me, if you don't mind, one of the first ones that came to mind was BJ Trimble or BJ Trimble. Joe Trimble wasn't exactly like a writer or a director or directly involved in Star Trek, but she was known as the woman who saved Star Trek because back in the original series after the second season, NBC was on the verge of canceling Star Trek because it wasn't doing well with the ratings. So Trimble devised a grassroots letter writing campaign that ended up saving the show for a third season. So she got a bunch of people together to start writing letters to NBC, and they, decided, hey, it sounds like there's some fans out there, so let's give this another shot. Let's try a third season. Now, they ended up dropping Star Trek anyway after the third year, but luckily, because of that third season, there were enough episodes that had been shot for the show to enter syndication, which is very important in television because that's where everyone makes their money, and that's where the show could continue on even though it was no longer making new episodes. So it was during that syndicated run that Star Trek built up its momentum and became kind of a phenomenon, and was resurrected as an animated series and eventually, obviously, the movies. She even was the driving force behind a letter writing campaign that urged President Ford to change the name of the first space shuttle to Enterprise.
Well, that was successful.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's made a huge impact, even though, like I said, she wasn't directly involved in actually writing or producing episodes, but we probably wouldn't have had Star Trek if it wasn't for her getting a push for that third season. Her only official work is the episode guide and encyclopedia for Star Trek, the original series, and the animated series called the Star Trek Concordance, which started as a fandom publication, but was eventually picked up by Ballantine Books and endorsed by Paramount. So, I mean, she was just it's incredible to see the impact that even just writing letters or being involved could have. But Tricia, is there anyone else you can think of that made an impact?
Yes, absolutely. And I just want to say with Bijou Trimble, she created a template that other shows down the line were saved, like Roswell and even Orville and quite a few other writing campaigns. Fans found their power and their voice going, hey, yes, and we definitely got to give love to Lucille Ball too. She is our fairy godmother that made all the magic happen with Star Trek, thanks to her studio. So yes, definitely good point, Dan. But yeah, another person that definitely comes up a lot is Jerry Taylor. That's definitely, she had a lot of influence because of Star Trek, Next Generation, and also Voyager. But how she got her start was actually on the show Quincy. I don't know
really?
how many people remember that show. It's an oldie but goodie with Jack Klugman. I know my grandparents used to watch it all the time. There are so many murders, so little time in that town. It was worse than Angela Lansbury's Murder, She Wrote. It was like every day. Okay. But that's where she got her start writing. That's where she totally learned how to learn her craft. And it was a coworker on the show basically said, hey, you know what? There's this other show over here that needs some writers. You might do really good at that. And she's like, oh, okay. What is it? Star Trek Next Generation. And she kind of went, yeah, okay. I know zero about Star Trek. You don't need to know anything. Here's a whole thing of books and things. You just crash course it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. And she was, actually. She kind of just got to the meat of it and just went, this is just characters and conflict and motivation. It's the same thing I've been doing for Quincy, but just in outer space. I can do this. Her first script that she wrote was Suddenly Human. And that's probably basically more or less just a story. It was a very complicated story, actually, because you have this young boy who was taken away as a war trophy and being raised with a very belligerent society. And he's basically then the ship that was the alien ship needed to be saved. They needed to do repairs. Picard and the crew found this human boy and went, what the heck? Why is there a human kid? They do more analysis and they're like, oh, this kid has so many broken bones. He's been abused. They jumped to a conclusion, as one would. And as the story evolves, you can really see kind of the questions come up, and Jerry's script brought up the question. She didn't shy from going, hey, is this the right thing to take him away from the parents that he knows, even though they're an alien species, or should he be brought back into the human species and taken care of and given back to the family that is left? And at the end, the hard choice was, the kid was fine. He got all these broken bones because he was trying to be like this alien race. And they returned him back to the father that has been raising him. That was the alien race. So that's a tough script right there. I mean, that's even relevant to today, with, somebody's adopted. You see it like the stories that, a baby's adopted and then the parent wants to come back, and then changes their mind or whatever. What do you do? And so that's an extremely, extremely tough script right there. And as she got her footing more and more into Star Trek Next Generation, she started to make the women a little bit more involved in the plot, other than yes, Captain, no, Captain. She was instrumental in getting Deanna Troi out of that blue dress and into a normal uniform.
Thank goodness.
So a regulated uniform. So I like that a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And actually, I have a good quote here. Gates McFadden said that, I think that the team of writers headed by Jerry Taylor have certainly made an effort to make the women's roles stronger. We've been in positions of power more often, in the captain's chair or leading a mission somewheres. And that is right there, Jerry Taylor's contribution in a nutshell. She started pushing those female characters to the front and really, not just talking to the computer, but actually they are the ones that need to be involved in the mission because they had stuff that they could contribute, not just looking pretty in a uniform. So definitely, there is that. And then she also did some episodes on Deep Space Nine. And stop me if these sound familiar. The Maquis 1 and the Maquis Part 2. Where did we see the Maquis again? Voyager,
absolutely.
Yep. So she brought them on board to Voyager, and she was insistent. She wanted a female captain, and I can tell you that went over like a lead balloon. Studio got death threats. It was just, what is this? A female captain? Are you nuts? But she insisted, nope, we need a female captain. We need someone that's going to take charge and knows what to do. And that's the way it is. But yeah, it definitely, she definitely pushed to get Janeway there, even though there was a lot of pressure to get her right. And sometimes it was just a little bit too much. There was a lot of emphasis on basically how the character looked. Got to get that hair bun just perfect. Got to have the figure just perfect. I feel really horrible for Kate Mulgrew because she must have been under, just unbelievable, just trying to live up to these expectations.
Yeah, absolutely.
She obviously did it. Jerry Ryan decided to retire the last 3 seasons and kind of just call it a day. I guess it was just too much pressure for her or whatever. I know she has some family issues. And she was but she was a creative in the background, doing a lot of the creative work, making the suggestions on the character, but not doing the day-to-day stuff. And that's where she kind of just left it. If you want to read any of her scripts or stuff, she left them, I believe, to the University of Indiana, her alma mater. So definitely, if you ever get in that area and you want to see some scripts with her notes on it, there you go. But yeah, so that was definitely one. I mean, her contribution to having strong female characters, especially Janeway, it's just, it lives on. I mean, we got it going with Discovery.
And yeah, Sari, it's difficult for women in the industry because there is so much focus on their physical appearance as opposed to what they bring to a character or what they can do as an actress. So yeah, I'm sure they were laboring over what her hair is supposed to look like, what she's going to wear, how she does her makeup, all of that stuff.
Yeah, how she sits, how she, is that come across too strong? There's such a balance there with the women that you don't have with a male character.
Yeah, a straightforward, blunt male character is just a straight shooter, but you put that into a woman, and then they're abrasive, or there's something else along those lines.
Oh yeah, definitely. So who else did you have on your list?
So this one's a pretty big one. Roxanne Dawson. Most people would know her for her portrayal of B'Elanna Torres in Star Trek Voyager,
Mhm.
but she also directed a lot of episodes. In the 2000s, she transitioned to a career primarily as a director, and she directed all kinds of stuff in television, including Enterprise, Crossing Jordan, Cold Case, Heroes, The Closer, The Mentalist, The Good Wife, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Mercy Street, The Deuce, and Foundation. She actually made her directorial debut while working on Voyager on the episode Riddles back in
Mhm.
1999. And she later directed the second part of the two-part episode Workforce. Directed 10 episodes of Star Trek Enterprise.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, she was really involved in that. And it's interesting going from being, an actress to a director. I'm sure that was difficult in the industry as well, because you probably get people assume that just because you're an actress and you have a nice physical appearance that you can't do anything else. But she definitely proved that's not the case. In 2002, she provided the voice of the repair station computer in one of the Star Trek Enterprise episodes she directed. And she co-wrote with Daniel Graham a trilogy of science fiction novels, Entering Tenebra, Tenebra's Hope, and Tenebra Rising. So, but she's proved to other women out there and girls out there that, even if you get your start as something like an actress or something else, you can always reinvent yourself. If you have other passions, you can shoot for those other passions. So I definitely think that she was an important person in the Star Trek lineage, and has made quite an impact for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, dream big. Why not? I mean,
Right, exactly.
and I know Star Trek, quite a few of the actors have gone into the directing field.
Yeah.
And it seems like the show kind of nurtures that and supports that, which is great.
Yeah, I think Star Trek has given a lot of actors that opportunity, and it's cool that they would give
Mhm.
Roxanne the opportunity as well, even though she's a woman, and there's obviously a lot of barriers for women to have to overcome in order to achieve those sort of, I would say, managerial roles on television.
Yeah, and it's great because, at least in my mind, at least women have a tendency to have a little bit better eye for detail,
Oh
a
yeah,
little bit more empathy. They want to bring out that emotion and get that connection between the show and the viewer. They want you to reach for that Kleenex box and start crying when the dog dies. I mean, they really want to make that connection.
yeah.
Male directors tend to lean towards, I believe, explosions.
High impact
Things like
visuals,
that. I
explosions.
like it
Yeah,
too, but Michael Bay. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
explosions. But yeah, I mean, they tend to do more with the pathos and the emotion, and just kind of not just the typical stuff. Just kind of they really delve into that.
Yeah. Who else did you have on your list, Trisha?
Oh yeah, I have actually. She's a really new person, or newish. She's very much award winning. Hanelle M. Culpepper. She was actually director for the series premiere for Picard, the first woman to helm a Star Trek series premiere in 53 years. So think about how far we've gotten from DC Fontana back in the early 1960s, just being a secretary and then kind of accidentally falling into the being a writer for the show and a co-creator, kind of creating its own stuff, to yeah, we're going to hire this woman to direct probably one of the most important series with one of the most important actors in Star Trek. I mean, let's face it, Picard's a legend. I mean, and to be handed a series that says, yeah, we don't want you to do the first episode. No pressure,
Yeah.
none whatsoever. Because dang well when she got it, she would look at it and go, I'm going to have billions of Trekkies screaming at me if I don't get this right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
especially something like that has a lineage attached to it.
Yeah, but the good news is she's one of us. One of the first documentaries that she shot way, way, way back when, how to stand in line for Star Wars. How to survive standing in line for Star Wars. Yeah, we've all done that. Basically, it was a very tongue-in-cheek guide to basically surviving standing in line. She interviewed people in line. She kind of put it all together and then put some tips, and voila, that she just did that little thing. And I thought it was just incredible that she did something like that so early. I'm like, well, gee, no wonder why they got her for Picard. She's obviously at least knows, something about the sci-fi community and sci-fi. Um, so basically, what the showrunners Kurtzman said about Culpepper was Hanel is a gifted and dynamic filmmaker whose directorial choices are always deeply rooted in character. I've been a huge fan of her work since she started with us on Discovery, and she's the perfect person to reintroduce the beloved character of Picard to longtime fans and new viewers alike. So she definitely was. She did some directing on Discovery, some of the best episodes there. At least the one episode that stands out in my mind that she did on Discovery was when they revealed Lorca being actually Mirror Mirror. She did that episode. And then in contrast, you had the emotions involved when Stamets and his husband, was dead or dead, and the husband had to warn him about the danger that was going on. It's like, we got a problem here, dude. But that pathos and the emotion involved with those two characters being separated, and they're so in love, and it's just heart-wrenching. So she had to go from an extreme of the mirror mirror universe in which die, prove yourself through being backstabbing and ambitious and things like that, to heartwarming and tender and a romance, basically. So it's that type of, putting that all together is just, I don't know how she did it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of directors can't see, they go one direction or the other. They can't kind of meld the both, especially in less than an hour episode.
Yeah.
I mean,
that Stamets episode was really powerful. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
it was.
I remember watching that, and it was very heart wrenching.
Oh, it was. And she's gone on since Discovery. I hate to say it, she directed a lot of my favorite shows, Vampire Diaries, Sleepy Hollow, but season 1, the right season. Ignore the rest of the Sleepy Hollow because they were not up to snuff. A lot of, I think she did Criminal Minds. She did an episode of that. I mean, she just has done so much action, adventure, sci-fi, paranormal. I mean, she has done the range. She's also been nominated for a couple NAACP awards for filmmaking. How she came up, which once more shows you the difference from the early 60s, there were a lot of mentorship programs for her available. And that is one thing that she pushes. She's like, you know what? I was able to get involved in this incubator program for young directors that I was able to direct a script, get it to go to all the different film festivals, understand it, understand the process, make connections, because we all know it's not what you know a lot of times, it's who you know. And just get her that experience that she needed so that way she could bring it in onto the big stage for Discovery, for Picard, for the big network shows. So definitely, she's one to watch. Definitely, I know she still has a lot of contributions to make. She is pushing in the background for more mentorship programs to get even more people of color and women involved in the industry. So she's definitely at the vanguard of trying to diversify the workforce.
Nice. Yeah, it's definitely something that is a challenge in entertainment for sure.
Oh, it is. So who else did you have?
So next I want to talk about two people, actually, Bo-Yeon Kim and Erica Lipple, because they kind of had some they kind of work together a little bit. So I'll start with Bo Young Kim. Bo Young Kim was the first Asian female screenwriter to write for Star Trek, the 53-year-old science fiction series. She was on board since the first season of Discovery in 2017 as an executive story editor. Wrote 2 episodes for season 2. She majored in archaeology. She wasn't actually a writer in school, but she started her career by entering another CBS mentoring program back in 2014. And she's actually been chosen to write Star Trek Section 31 starring Michelle Yeoh. So she's got some stuff coming up.
Can't wait for that one.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
Did you see the teaser for it yet?
I have not. Have you?
Oh, look for the teaser. The teasers, yeah. It'll get you excited.
So in the same vein, Erica Lippold, she was raised in France by American parents and moved to the United States to pursue her love of science. She completed a PhD in neurobiology at USC, but she wanted to be a screenwriter, and she loved science fiction in particular. So she actually worked with Bo Young Kim. They both participated in that CBS Writers Mentoring Program, as well as the Cape New Writers Fellowship. And they've worked together on a lot of stuff. So they worked on Rain, they worked on Discovery, and she will also be working on Star Trek Section 31.
Awesome.
Yeah, so they're both bringing fresh storytelling and diverse perspectives to Star Trek, which is important, obviously, because and all of the principles that Star Trek was founded on.
Definitely. So,
who else you got for us, Trisha?
Oh, who else do I have? How about Melinda Snodgrass?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. The lawyer. Yes. Definitely. She actually graduated with a degree in history and then went on to pursue law and then got involved with script writing for Star Trek Next Generation. She also has written a bunch of just regular fiction books. She just loves to write sci-fi. She's also done scripts for The Outer Limits, Sequest, remember that show, and Reasonable Doubts. And she was a consulting producer on The Profiler. So it's definitely, she contributes stories even to George R.R. Martin's short story books that he has come out, like the Wild Cards ones. So she is definitely a very active individual in writing. She loves it. But I think the episode that she did that stands out so much because it melded her background as a lawyer and her love of sci-fi is Measure of a Man. Yeah. That's the one in which there was a trial to determine whether the rights of Data, what could he be considered human, or was he just a robot that they could take apart and look at and just do whatever they want with? And she actually raised some interesting legal arguments there. And they were pretty much on track. If you go on YouTube, there's a few lawyers, I think like Legal Eagles or something like that, have actually gone through the actual Star Trek episode and matched it up against case law. And definitely, I would highly recommend watching it. It's interesting to see how accurate she really did get it. But that was an interesting episode and an interesting exercise to kind of go through, is Data really, more than the sum of his parts? So that's definitely, something to, think about and enjoy. And that was kind of what she brought. It was that legal touch, that ethical touch, like ethics. Is it ethical to do this? Right. A lawyer would do that, but yeah, ethics. Lawyers do have ethics.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite episodes of The Next Generation. So, I mean, and it's kind of poignant now too, considering that like we're moving into the world of AI in real life. Mm-hmm. And I mean, the Picard versus Riker sort of like dueling, Battle of the Wits on that is just incredible. It's an amazing episode, and it's probably, like I said, it's one of my favorite Next Generation.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's one of my favorites too. It pits Riker against Picard.
Yep.
Really for the first time. They're adversaries. They don't want to do it, but they have no choice. They have to go against each other. And I hate to say it, that came in real handy when we had Locutus. Riker knew he had to not, he didn't have to he didn't have Picard there to depend on.
Right.
So definitely, and it was a great episode. it also brought up something that's extremely relevant today: artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
That is a huge thing right now. Where is that line with artificial intelligence? When it, I mean, there's a lot, I know with art, there is a lot of argument, I'll put it that way, especially on the forums that I've seen, whether or not somebody using AI art, is that even, the right way to go about making a piece? Is that an original piece if they use AI? Or is it, something computer generated that somebody with 3 clicks and a click can create a Van Gogh? I mean, I know in the novel writing community, there's a lot of authors that will sit there and say, no AI, I want to get a cover, but no AI. I want original art. And then but then there's some artists that are going, yeah, but I could turn you out a cover for like $50 in
Yeah.
like an hour. And I'll hate to say, a lot of new authors kind of like that because we're all kind of freaking cheap because we
Yeah.
don't, we're not Nora Roberts
Yeah.
or, J.R. Ward with the mansion in Tennessee. We're struggling. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
We got bills to pay. And if somebody's willing to rig us a deal on a cover that instead of paying $400, we pay 50, yeah, we're probably going to look at that. But she raised, what Melinda raised there was the question of, AI. What is AI? And that was even before AI was as we define it today. So
Yeah.
she raised some really good questions there. And just personhood. What is a person?
Right. Yeah, I mean it's incredible the questions they came up with, and like you said, the fact that we're going through this now in real life and we're seeing these things. Hopefully, it'll inspire people to have a nuanced point of view when approaching AI instead of just assuming that everything is this technology is a machine. Especially if we get to the point of something like data.
Yeah, because I know in healthcare, we're using AI all the time now with our machines because AI is able to detect tumors earlier. It's able to detect little minute things that the human eye may not see.
Yeah.
So yeah, we could have a whole panel discussion about AI and Star Trek. We really could.
Yeah.
But do you have anybody else? Because that was my last person. So do you have anybody else?
Oh yeah, I definitely do. So next, I want to talk about Phyllis Strong.
Mm-hmm.
Phyllis Strong was a writer and a producer. She's a daughter of child refugees from Nazi Europe. She
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with sci-fi in the 7th grade. Her parents moved to New York City, or from New York City to the suburbs, and she was struggling to make new friends. So she read a lot of Ray Bradbury short stories. Um, Ended up spending a lot of time in the library. Became a huge fan of sci-fi. Um, and she wrote her first spec script. It was a Holocaust-themed DS9 story. Ended up not being used, but got her attention for future work in the Star Trek franchise. So she ended up working on Enterprise and Voyager, and really contributed a lot of good work to the series. And then lastly is Maya Fervillo. I hope I said that right. She was an editor and a director. She started her career as an editor, and her background. With that background, you can tell from that background how she uses visual expression, calibrated pacing, the use of montage to convey interior states. Like her experience as an editor really contributed to the way she directed episodes. She was originally from Croatia and graduated from the University of Zagreb with a BA in film and television editing. In 1992, she earned a Dean's Award. And she also holds a BA in music from the Music Conservatory in Zagreb. So she's done a lot of work. She worked on Discovery, Picard, Strange New Worlds, but she's also done other sci-fi fantasy television series such as Amazon's The Wheel of Time and Apple TV's For All Mankind, which I know is really popular right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. For All Mankind was just recommended. I should get Apple TV to see that by somebody. That is working in the background here. Hi, Ken. But yeah, definitely. There is just so much talent out there that we could just go on all day about. We're seeing more and more involvement of women, especially in sci-fi shows, action adventure, all that type of thing. Was that your last person there, Chris? Or
that was the last person I researched.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, what do you think In terms of these contributions from these women, what do you think the biggest impact to the industry has been?
I think creating the depth of the characters to me, it sometimes it's going to sound like an overused phrase, a woman's touch. They seem to understand family dynamics, team dynamics almost instinctively, and can understand how those ties can be used to help and to hinder and to create that conflict that is always underlying. Because I know one thing, whenever you're doing a script or a story or anything, if you don't have conflict, it's very boring on a paper. And even when the person kind of even tries to emote it as an actor, it still comes across as very boring. And it's like, yeah, I might as well just watch the grass grow. It's just as exciting. I think they drive that in. They also make sure those female characters are not overlooked. Deanna Troy, one of the first, Jerry Taylor put Deanna Troy in the center seat, let her drive the Enterprise. So, okay, she didn't crash it that time, but, but definitely, we definitely want to, emphasize that. That to me is like they brought the heart. Maybe that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, like you said, that woman's touch, perspective is everything, right? Especially in entertainment and television. So to be able to bring a female, well, I should say without the female perspective, it's a one-sided argument, right? Like everything you get is going to be from the perspective of a man. And for me, that's boring. I want to see a variety of ideas, a variety of different takes on society. And I don't think without the contribution women have made, especially in Star Trek, we would have as diverse of a series, as robust of a series as it has been for over 53 years.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And definitely through the course of this discussion, we definitely have seen it go from kind of accidentally being getting involved to they're actively seeking out this talent. They're nurturing it through mentorships, through special programs. Colleges are pushing this. I mean, I'm really hopeful for the future because the more diverse perspectives that are out there, that gives us way more interesting stories to watch.
Yeah, and characters.
And characters, absolutely, and characters. Okay, I think that's pretty much what we got. Chris, I know you. The next event is, I believe, a talk with Starfleet Data Protection with the Academy Commandant. So bring those tough questions. I am happy to say my kid passed Starfleet Data Protection yesterday.
Nice.
Yes, he wants to start a fantasy football league on the chapter, and I told him, I was like, well, you're going to have access to emails. You're going to have to take it.
Absolutely.
So he took it and passed it with a 90. So I'm kind of proud mom moment.
Nice.
So what else do you have, Chris? I know you have a few things coming up.
Oh, I do. I will be doing another live database demo at 6 p.m. Eastern in the booth room. So we had one this morning. It was good. If you saw the one this morning, you're not going to see much new this time, but maybe you have some new questions. Maybe you just want to check it out again and get some more perspective. But definitely looking forward to that. I invite everybody to come to that, ask some tough questions there as well, make some critiques of what's going on, because ultimately I'm building this database for the membership, and I want to make sure that everybody's happy with the final product.
And let me tell you, we appreciate all your hard work on this. Trust me. I know it is a slog, but it will definitely bring Starfleet into the future. So just want to say we do appreciate it. I really appreciate it. I know I work in IS, and I know this is not an easy lift at all. I mean, really, this thing hasn't been well touched since like 2000. Yeah. So yeah, my sympathies, and I don't know how you do it, but thank you.
Thank you. So everybody get ready for the SFTPP talk with the Commandant and the DPO. Thanks for tuning in. Here's a cat for you.
And we have a guest star, a cat.
The cat guest star wouldn't be a panel without a cat guest star. So.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm Admiral Tricia Tunis, USS Corsair, out of Region 3, and throw it over to you, Chris, to wrap us up.
All right, take care, everyone. I'm Fleet Captain Chris Poole, and thank you for attending the VIC.